Welcome to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, a podcast where we teach speakers how to land paid speaking engagements and corporate contracts. Each week, we deliver high-quality content that teaches you how to level up your speaking business. Be sure to join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group after having your mind blown by this information-filled episode. Now, here's your host, Ashley Kirkwood, lawyer and professional speaker. This is the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast.
My name's Ashley Kirkwood. I own Speak Your Way to Cash. I also host the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast and run a program called Speak Your Way to Cash Academy for people who are really ready to take it to the next level in their speaking career and want to create a 5 or 6 figure corporate speaking offer. So today we're going to be talking about applying to speak, because this is a really, really, really big misperception that if you want to get paid to speak, the way to do it is to find all these conferences that are asking you to apply to speak and do that. And the reality is those people, those conferences that are asking you to apply to speak, 9 times out of 10 are not paying you to speak. At best, what I've seen is that they will pay for your travel, maybe. They'll pay for your travel and maybe your hotel accommodations, but that's not getting paid to speak. Right? So what we like to do at the Speak Your Way to Cash, the business model that we have for speaking and speakers involves you actually getting paid to hit the stage. And so if that is your goal, getting paid to hit the stage, then you do not want to spend hours upon hours of time actually applying to speak. And one of the big principles that I want everyone to write down if you're taking notes, or just listen to if you're ready, you're like getting ready for the morning, because I know it's early. This is our sunrise speaker series, is pretty stages does not always equal paid stages. Pretty stages does not always equal paid stages. And I say that because so many people think that the bigger the stage, the prettier the stage, the more paid that you will be as a speaker. And one of the speakers that I've worked with quite a bit actually shared with us recently that she basically 10x'd her revenue. I believe that's what it is. I mean, it's early, so it's hard for me to do the math, but she went from like 20K a year to 200K a year. And it wasn't that she wasn't speaking on big, pretty stages her first year. She was. And she was speaking for global corporations. But when you restructure your speaking offer, what you're able to do is present people with larger packages and get paid more to speak. And it's not about getting on those really cute conference stages, to be honest with you. And so if you are someone who's interested in getting Insta-worthy stages, like that's the goal, to get Insta-worthy stages and do these talks that may or may not result in you actually getting paid to speak, then, I wouldn't necessarily be the right speaking coach for you, because I value big checks over big stages. So what do you do instead? For those of you just joining, we're talking about getting paid to speak, hopping on those pretty stages, why those stages aren't always the stages that get you paid, and why you should stop applying to speak. And here's what I'll say. There is a place in your marketing plan for talking on pretty stages, because let me tell you what pretty stages get you before I just totally tell you what you should do instead and why I don't really apply to speak anymore. Pretty stages get you brand recognition amongst your current consumer client base. So there is a place for the Insta-worthy stages. I think people love to see you doing TEDx talks. People love to see you being able to speak at Build Brand Launch. Like, ooh, that's so pretty. People love to see you talking at Essence. It's a very big yes girl moment. You know what I mean? Like, people love that. Or what up bro moment. We have guys and women, men and women in our community. So people love to see that. And typically what it does for consumers, when you're selling a consumer-facing product, like I do Speak Your Way to Cash, what most people are interested in, I'm going to tell you guys, they're like, oh, I want you to be my speaking coach. I see that you've done 2 TEDx talks. And I'm like, yeah, I've done 2 TEDx talks, but you don't get paid for TEDx talks. However, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I know how to get TEDx talks. That's not a problem. You want to get a TEDx talk? We'll figure that out. But I know that for consumers, because they're TEDx stages are pretty stages. People love those stages. So I did TEDx talks so that I could market to consumers and to corporate clients who identify with the brand recognition and the competitive nature of the stage. So because of that, I do TEDx talks, but I use them in my marketing to get paid engagement. So when I do my TEDx talks, if you watch, both of my TEDx talks have the exact same name as my signature speeches. Why is that? Because if I'm going to use it for marketing, the talk itself has to be directly relevant to what I'm going to sell my corporate client. I do not get on TEDx stages without a plan to sell that same talk to a large corporate audience. So when I'm pitching, I'm sending them my TEDx talk and we're opening the discussion. I just landed, thank God for referrals. I just landed a pharmaceutical client, huge pharmaceutical company, did over $1 billion in revenue last quarter. And I did a talk for them yesterday. The name of the talk, Understanding Microaggressions with Love, L.O.V.E. What was my TEDx talk? My TEDx talk actually dealt with love, right? It actually dealt with the love framework and the love model. And so I sent them that TEDx talk in my pitch. And then they sent that TEDx talk to every single employee that I was going to talk to yesterday as a way to position me as an expert. Now, TEDx didn't pay me, but I've gotten paid like 6 figures off of that talk, giving that talk over and over and over and over again and expanding it out, because the TEDx talk may be like 5 to 7 minutes. So I've expanded that out to an entire framework, an entire hour-and-a-half long presentation with even more research and even more development. I have a whole love framework assessment that I give to corporations. That's $20,000. Like, you can really expand out this talk, but it involves you being extraordinarily strategic in the way that you leverage these types of talks. What most TEDx coaches are talking about is getting you on the TEDx stage. It makes no sense. It makes no sense if that's like, so look, if you're already making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars and you just want to do a TEDx talk for the intellectual curiosity of it all, no shade. I totally get it. But if you are a speaker who is still in that pre-billionaire status, such as moi, everything that I do on the business side has a business objective. And if you focus on the business objective and the strategy behind why you're doing what you're doing, everything else gets better. So back to these pretty stages that don't give pretty checks. You apply to speak. If you're going to do it, it needs to be because you have a B2C product and you're going to get on that stage and sell that product at the end. You're going to market your business at the end, and or the stage itself is one that will allow your audience to think that you are extraordinarily credible. The people I don't recommend this for are people such as myself. I have a law degree. I have experience in big law. And so regardless if I get on another cute stage, I'm credible. You know what I mean? I don't have to do anything else to prove my credibility. And so if you're in that category, like you've already proven your credibility to your market, they may or may not care if you get on another big stage. That said, you want to make sure if you're doing it for marketing, you have a back-end product that you're going to sell. So I think it's December 20th. Me and Quinn are going to do a speech on that in Clubhouse. And she actually is someone who primarily speaks to sell. So those are the three markets that I think of in terms of business models. For speakers, speaking to sell. So you can hey, your whole business model could be based on you getting on stage and selling a product. Speaking to speak, you get on stage, have no back end product at all. You're just getting paid to speak. That's how you're getting your revenue. And then you can do a combination of both. So I primarily teach how to get on stage, speak, and you get paid beforehand. And then you also lead them through your upsell sales process, but you're typically leading the organization through an upsell sales process. Okay. So let's keep that in mind as well. So if you all have any questions, let me know. So those are the folks that I recommend. Like if you're going to get on stage, you're going to apply to speak, make sure that you're doing it for that, but make sure you're not doing it for, clout chasing reasons, right? Like who cares? And what I said earlier, for those of you just joining, pretty stages does not always equal pretty checks. And those folks who are on those pretty stages, who are teaching you how to get paid to speak, who are teaching you how to speak, you want to find out who are their clients, who are they serving? Because I'll tell you, I'm under non-disclosures with most of my corporate clients. Some of them I'm not. Like Blue Cross, I wasn't. The speech I did for them that they paid me for, it was public. People were able to come to it. It's not a big problem. I'm not under a strict non-disclosure with the pharma company. I don't believe I am. And so, I could talk about those. My college clients, not really strict disclosure. Some of you all actually met my college clients because they came and they spoke at my conference to give you all free game. Well, it wasn't free, but give you all game on how to get paid to speak. So some of that stuff is public. Some of it's not public. But even when you're looking at people and they're teaching you how to get paid to speak, they should be able to tell you what industries they play in, who they're selling to in those industries, and what their process is for getting those engagements. It can't be like I spoke on these stages that we know don't pay, even like South by Southwest. Nah. Now, here's what you should be doing instead. Sometimes I like pretty stages for marketing reasons, and I've told you what those reasons would be, but I still am not about to do no apply to speak, right? So instead of doing the apply to speak option, if it's really important to me, and this is now, in the very beginning, or when I was heavily marketing my firm, I would like go to wherever and talk about legal stuff, and then at the end sell people on trademarks. Like there's nothing wrong with doing it. But what I'm saying is if your goal, my goal for being a professional paid speaker, I am going to companies directly that can pay me, not necessarily going to these cute conferences. Now let me make sure I write this down, because there are other types of conferences that you may want to go to for business development for corporate clients. And some people build their entire calendar by doing those as well. So what I recommend instead, so if you want to go to some of these conferences that look really nice and you want to speak, instead of applying to speak, what you can do is email the organizer directly and say, hey, I noticed you all have a call for speakers. Traditionally, that's not how conferences bring me in, but I'm really interested in speaking to your organization. You can see a clip of me speaking here. Let me know what your budget is for bringing in keynote presenters. Typically, those really large conferences do have budgets for keynote presenters, but they're not spending that budget on the folks applying to speak. And the reason for this is because they are traditionally looking to spend that budget on celebrity speakers. So when you look at like the Black Enterprise conferences that I've been to, and I spoke at a conference for, the woman who's amazing, Dollinger, Maisha, I hope I'm saying her name right. She owns Curls. She did an amazing, gorgeous conference called Black Girls Making Millions. Had to speak at that, obviously. So I was the legal speaker for that alongside some celebrity speakers. And what they did for their speakers that I thought was really unique was that, one, everyone was flown out. The actual resort that we stayed at was amazing, yacht parties, press, but they helped to arrange us press features in a variety of news outlets, Black Enterprise amongst them. And so that was a unique opportunity. And what I also liked about it was that I developed business relationships with her that I really valued, and a lot of other people. So there may be times that you go to these, like if it's a conference you want to attend, you want to go to anyways, applying to speak, definitely a great way to do it strategically. But even then, I didn't apply. I actually emailed her team directly and was like, hey, this is what I do. I don't see that you have a speaker talking about this particular topic, but it's critical. Here's a speech of me. There's a talk that I did previously, and I sent them like 2-minute review clip. It was like a little clip of me speaking, plus all these people doing reviews like, legal has never been this fun. She's so lit. Like it was the perfect video for that speech. And then I went to speak because I liked her, I liked the conference, and I liked the caliber of the attendees. So strategically that works out. Even then though, I'm not putting myself in that apply to speak bucket. And the reason why I don't recommend it is because you then become a commodity. You are like every other speaker that hits that stage that they're analyzing and evaluating. And it's a very pick me situation. So although I've done it, what I like to do instead is just go directly to the person organizing the event. And if they follow up with like, I've never had, because of the way I positioned myself in that initial email, I've never had them follow up like, you got to apply. Like typically they see the stuff and they're like, all right, if we're gonna get this girl, we're not gonna force her to go to that process. But if you absolutely have to do it and you want to talk at some of those conferences, mainly because you want to go anyways, then what I would recommend you do, and Tony, I'll answer your question for sure. What I would recommend you do is you actually just email the organizer directly and position it as like, one of those, typically I don't do this, but I saw your conference and I would be interested in coming to speak. One of those types of things. I just don't recommend that speakers ever put themselves in a position where it's like me and 75,000 other speakers, like we're all the same, because quite frankly, we're not. And if you're watching this, you're probably not like every other speaker either. And so you don't want to do what every other speaker does. So that's that on that. Now, there is a group of conferences that don't have pretty stages where corporate clients love to hang out. And what you have to know is, where do your corporate audiences go to get their information? And how can you keynote that particular conference? Now, here's the thing. Now, this is going to be different. And this is, a lot of people think that speaking is one of those things that you can get into. You don't have to invest in it. You can kind of figure it out as you go along. I can tell you, as someone who has an audience of people who watch a lot of the things that I do, I can literally see where people are who never invest, who say they want to speak, and people are who invest and say they want to speak. The people who invest always grow. If they invest in, not like, they don't just invest their money, but they also invest their time in learning the industry. But there's a group of conferences. There's 2 sets of conferences I'm going to tell you guys about. One set of conferences you actually have to pay to speak at. Okay. One, you have to pay to speak at. And they don't even allow everyone to pay to speak at the conference because they still want a good event. So they're not paying you, you're paying them. And there are people who get their entire calendar filled by paying to speak at these particular conferences. These would be, if you took the Speaker Ready Cash course, then I talk a lot about these types of conferences, but they're like for college. So the people that hire you at colleges are like directors of student programming. Those individuals have professional development that they do every year. All of them, like hundreds of them, congregate at various points throughout the year at conferences. There are certain organizations that put on those conferences. They know that the people that are going to hire you are at those conferences. So what do? They make the speakers pay. And this is one thing for someone who's a new speaker trying to get started in the industry. This is one thing to consider, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. But they make speakers pay to attend this conference. And I'm talking thousands. And what you get for that thousands of dollars is you get a chance to showcase for like 8 minutes in front of your ideal audience. Now, do I recommend this? Here's my experience with this. I have gone to these things, paid thousands of dollars, but I still didn't want that little 8-minute slot. I was like, all right, look, I'll bite because a lot of speakers do this and I need to see what's out there, what people are doing. So I paid the couple grand, went to the conference, but I was like, look, here's what I want to do. I don't want to just do that little 8-minute slot. I'll do that. But what I want to do is I want to open the entire conference for everybody, all the students, all the organizers. I want hundreds of people in the room. And then I want to also close it because I can do both. I can open it and I can close it, and I'm still going to do that little 8-minute slot. So while lots of speakers who went to these things were able to like do the 8 minutes, I was able to open the show, close the show, host the show. These people saw me probably 5 or 6 times. Now, what did that result in? I was able to land several clients at one time because all the people in there came with a budget to hire speakers. So that was great. The only thing I do not like about it, why I don't do this anymore, I don't use that method anymore to get engagements, because when you do that, you're in a room with a whole lot of other speakers and you have to commoditize yourself to some degree. So they do, when they go there, they buy in bulk, but they want you to discount your services. There's an episode on my podcast where I talk through like even more about why I don't do it. And like literally, y'all, the way that it works, I'll just tell you, is people sit in a room and when your name goes up on the screen, the clients put up a board that's like, yes, we want to buy her services. No, we don't want to buy her services. There were people in that room. Let me just be 100% frank with you guys, because I don't even know if people know that this happens. There were people in that room that were like, I gave my last bit of $100 to come here and no client wants to hire me. Like, this isn't going to work. Like, literally, speakers were like crying in the back. It was wild. Okay. So I was like, look, I ain't doing this again, but this was a good opportunity. So if you're going to go to an event like that with hundreds of clients, I went with my husband, and my husband served as my manager. And my husband is like a beast at this stuff. So he was working the room. He got cards. We closed deals. Like, it was really good. And I've gone to several, so some are better than others. But one of the clients that I have now, a great client of mine, actually came from there because he was able to see me speak and all of his students was able to see me speak. And that really, really, really helped some things out. But again, the other reason I like doing that for new speakers, I'll just say why I like it before I go on to why I don't do it anymore. I like it because you get to speak in front of hundreds of your ideal audience. You get to test out your speech. And we bought, I'm extra. So I bought a whole video crew with me. A lot of speakers did not do this, but I bought a whole video crew with me. So whenever I wasn't on stage, they were getting me testimonials. We got so many testimonials from doing it there. We were able to do it all in one weekend. He had everything edited for me and ready to go. And it was in New York, the one that I did that I liked. I did another one in Illinois and I didn't like it as much. So I also think that geographically, there are just some benefits if you're playing in the college market geographically, where I've seen there are some places just that people I think have larger budgets versus smaller budgets. And I like doing the event in New York. And most people aren't. Just think about it. New York is expensive. Illinois is cheaper than New York. So if they're going to come and fly out all their team to New York, they're flying out to spend some money. In my mind, that's how I think about it. And that turned out to be the most lucrative one of those that I did was from New York. I did the one in Illinois just because it was in Illinois, but I'm not doing it again. And it was so long. My husband was so tired and we debriefed at the end and we were just like, look, babe, there's other ways. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to continue to do this. But it was good that I did it because before I, recommend it to other people, I wanted to try it out and see what worked and what didn't work. All right. So those are my thoughts on the conference market on the college side. Now, on the corporate side, there are some stages, not cute stages, but There are some conferences that you can go to. You're going to research them. You're going to have to find out where your ideal clients hang out. And then you may want to go to those. But if you do, you want to make sure that the timing of your presentation, because those are they typically don't pay with most organizations. Like, let's take Society for Human Resources. They have regional conferences. Don't pay speakers traditionally, unless you're the keynote. And they may pay, but it's low. That's not where you're making your bread and butter. Then they have the national conferences. They have budgets for speakers, and your ideal clients are there. So you may want to go to those national conferences and make yourself invaluable. And who you're speaking to are directors of HR. But based on the title of your presentation, do not do a general HR presentation. Like, 5 steps to having a great HR department. No, that doesn't make sense. The title and the theme of your presentation needs to be director level. Because here is the thing. People will tell me, I'm pitching HR people in HR. I just want to talk to someone who works in HR. Someone who works in HR doesn't have a budget. Most of the time, the director of HR has to go get the budget approved, or the budget is extraordinarily small. It doesn't mean the relationship isn't valuable, but we have to start going where the people who can write checks are going. And they're typically not directors of HR. I'm just going to be honest with you. Directors of HR make good introductions. They make great clients. They're very nice, but they're very overworked. This isn't like top of mind for them. And guess what? If the whole company doesn't work out, the HR department is just going to be, the HR department is still going to be busy. Where you want to go, the most recent client that brought me in was a director of a particular department of individuals who had a vested interest in the individuals within her department feeling heard and valued. Why? Because when she gets reviewed by the CEO, he's going to be asking her, how are the employees? When HR gets reviewed, if all the employees are unhappy, but they're not their direct reports, how does that impact them? Like, let's just think about this logically. If I'm the director of HR, I want the employees to be satisfied and happy, but at the end of the day, I need my department to be satisfied and happy. So when I do speeches for HR, when I'm pitching an HR director, I'm not pitching them on something general for the company. I'm like, look, I'm going to come in and train your HR director about how to handle sexual harassment complaints so that you all don't get sued, and also so that you understand how to work with empathy. Well, yeah, they have a vested interest in that. But if you're pitching them for something general for the whole company, they don't have a vested interest in that, and they're busy. That email goes right to the bottom. So if you're going to do a presentation at like SHRM or something like that, make it relevant to leaders in HR and make it directly relevant to how you can help their department do better. That's my opinion on that. So there may be some conferences you go to and you don't get paid to go to, but you're not getting paid to speak. Those are called business development opportunities. Okay. And so that is very, 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 very different. Very, very, very different. So any questions? One question I'm seeing is, what advice would you give to new speakers trying to get big checks? The first advice I would give you is, here's the thing. If you're a new speaker and you are just out here trying to figure it out on your own, that typically won't result in you getting big checks, because I'm going to tell you, from someone who was looking at what other speaking coaches teach and what they offer and other courses, most of them are telling you how to get one-off engagements, not how to build long-term relationships with clients. And they're telling you to start at the bottom versus start at the top. Whereas in my program, we actually show you how to start at the top. So we're developing 5- and 6-figure corporate offers. We're talking about pitching them on $60,000, $70,000 offers out the gate. And then maybe as lead generation, or maybe as intro, like in the B2C world, we say like your freebie. We don't have freebies for corporate, but what we may have is like my introductory presentation is like $7,500. And then if that goes well, we continue on with the proposal. So it won't be a freebie, but you're opting for them. The thing that is like, okay, well, it sounds like you still want to get some help, but you're not ready to go all out right now. How about we start off with this one presentation? It's $7,500 or $10,000, whatever your rate is for that. So I recommend you get coaching if it's something you really want to make money from. And I recommend you get coaching from someone with vision, who's comfortable talking numbers and who, is going to help you out with that. I don't know another program that teaches like me. There isn't one, if we're being honest, since I'm a lawyer and a speaker and I understand licensing and negotiate contracts for a living. But that is really what I would recommend. And I would recommend you don't start this will depend on your budget, what program you get into. But if I want to make money speaking, be prepared to make the time investment to make it work. It's not like a get rich quick thing. If you want something quick, and I think this is the other reason why people focus on applying to speak and lower speaking engagements and just smaller checks in general is because in order to learn how to sell corporate, how to sell on a high level, how to have conversations with corporate decision makers, it takes time. This isn't like it's not like an online course where it's like, all right, learn an ad, flip it, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. No, it's going to take actual time in order for you to develop out your sales process for these corporate clients. It's not necessarily a quick thing. So that is probably why people just like, if you apply to speak, that is a quick thing. You'll learn back on whatever date they tell you. You'll find out if you get the engagement. You can celebrate it on Instagram right away. So if you need instant gratification, plus you want to build out a real solid speaking business, do both. Get a couple of those quick wins, couple of those quick engagements, but work with someone who can guide you through developing out those large offers and work on yourself until you get there. So there's, no shame in, because we sometimes as humans, we just need a quick win so that we can continue going and have something to fight for. So nothing wrong with that. But keep in mind, to sell larger packages, one, you have to be willing to walk away from small money. Some people want a lot of money, but they've never walked away from any money. So they can't really get to the promised land, so to speak, because they're not used to walking away from any money at all. Like they accept every engagement. And all that does is take you off focus and take you off course. So you know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. So I would recommend new speakers get coaching on that. So that's a great question. So first, congrats to you for landing a paid speaking opportunity and also for being great enough at what you did for them to call you back. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And so first off, congrats on that. I think that one of the things we're talking about Thursday is why that's so important. Okay, so then there's that. I would say when putting together the packages, I heard you say, you wanted to pitch them at like a $50,000 or $60,000 rate, but then you wanted to start with something smaller. Okay, so this is just me being me on this one. So don't take offense to anything I say. Your rate is too low. If you want to do $50,000, $60,000, pitch them on $50,000, $60,000. If they end up paying you 10, no problem. And what you would say is like, hey, we've reevaluated our offers for the year. The way that we're working with clients moving forward is by ensuring that we're getting them the end result. The end result for them is making sure these students are able to insert the blank here. In order to get you to that end result, what I really recommend is that you come on our $50,000 package. It includes XYZ, blah, 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 blah. Look this over. Let's talk about it next week. The thing is, within that $50,000 package that you give them, you can have a carve out that's like for a one-off presentation with you and your wife, it's $10K or whatever. Now, I heard you say like you're going to pitch them on a virtual conference because the first time you did half a day for $2,000. Half a day is, I'll give you an example. So half a day, for me to come to a college for half a day, $25,000. Typically, that's 3 1-hour sessions. That's like 3 hours. A full day is like 6 hours. That would be more money. But included within that doesn't mean I do more work. It means that like I would include workbooks for all of the students that we develop out. I would include a follow-up virtual session, pre-recorded, that they have access to for 30 days. Like you can include other things that will make it a bigger package that won't necessarily mean you have to work more. So I don't want you to think because you did 2,000 half day, 5,000 full day for 2 people is like what you have to do next. I would just tell them we've reevaluated our offers. Now, the truth of the matter is if you start really low with the client, you can tell them you've reevaluated your offers. The client may or may not stay on. Because I get this question like, what if they say no? Then they say no. The good thing about it is if they liked what you did, they still can be a valuable referral base for you to get additional engagements. But when they refer you, they won't be mentioning that $2,000 rate. Because one of the big issues with us starting off lower with these clients and then continuing to do it is that that client never comes up, and then they refer you other clients that don't come up. And I had this happen when I started 3 years ago with the client, and my rate was drastically different than it is now. And that client referred me someone else, and they were like, well, we have a budget of like $2,500. We need you to do a keynote virtual. And I was like, well, I can't do that. I mean, that's nowhere near my rate. I was like, obviously, our package just started around $25,000 for me to do mostly anything. And they were like, okay, yeah, the person that referred us to you already told us that. We don't have that for this, but I can put you in touch with our other department that can get you in at that rate. And so the real benefit of like the way you want to set this up is so that even if you end up doing it for $5,000, they know that you have more to offer and that your rates are going up so that when they refer you, they're able to refer you and not just talk about the rate that you pay now. Because clients talk about that. When they're looking for speakers, they're like, oh yeah, well, how much is she? How much is that going to run us? Like we only have X amount of dollars, etc. And so you at least want them to say, oh, I don't know. You can also have them verbally agree. Like if I do this for you, that's fine. I want you to refer me to 5 other people that can benefit from my services. But just so you know, the rates start at X. Like you want to be really direct with people as it relates to your rate if you're going to do something outside of it. And if they don't take the full package or the full rate, make sure you take something away versus adding something to it. Does that help at all? You know, the thing about corporate is you can talk about almost anything if it's packaged right, but you want to be careful and make sure that it is actually packaged appropriately for that audience. But another great place would be actually colleges, because sexual safety is a really big talk. There was a woman who does, she's a doctor. I think she's a academic, a PhD, and she does a lot of talks about like safe sex, sexual insecurity looks like, and does very well. And students love her. College kids love talking about sex. I mean, it's not taboo at all. It's actually very prevalent and happening all around. So if you could do a talk about like sexual safety and then restoration and tie all of those pieces in and also include the product. And you could even probably have the same way colleges buy books. You could even have them buy a few samples. Like you could do all types of things and package that together to a more college audience. That's probably where I would go with that. So that way you don't have to feel, because in corporate, there is a sense of you have to stay within certain bounds. It's not really the place where you go and just have a blast. You know what I mean? And I do race talks at corporate, and I just did one yesterday, and it was fun. But even one of my videos was a little risky. And I was like, look, I had to have my husband review it. I'm like, I don't know. And so it's just a very different way to start. It's a very different audience. I find that in the college audience, way more forgiving. I have seen some highly inappropriate speeches on college campuses. I would never give one, but like, and yours is not highly inappropriate, but I have seen some highly inappropriate speeches. So I know that the college audience just has the stomach for a lot more. Also, they bring in comedians, and you know comedians go all the way there. So if you want to like take this to an audience where you can have a bit more, I don't want to say fun with the speech because of the topic, but like a bit more freedom with the way that you deliver the material, I would say colleges are a great place to do that. But in corporate, I would reposition it as a speech about resilience. It's a Sunrise Speaker Series. Follow me on Instagram. You can see the topics for Wednesday and Thursday. And then I have a Speaker Ready Cash Facebook group. You can find way more videos of me in the Speaker Ready Cash Facebook group. And we have a Speaker Ready Cash podcast. I'm pretty easy to find on the internet as it relates to speaking. And then for those of you who are in the room who are like, okay, I'm interested in taking the next step, going to the next level, I have a Speaker Ready Cash course, lower investment, to talk about getting those one-off engagements. And it's geared towards the college audience. So if you're like, all right, I want to start off in the one-off game before I get to these 5- and 6-figure corporate and college speaking offers, then the Speaker Ready Cash course is for you. If you're someone who's like, well, I want to apply to work with this lady, then click the link in my Instagram bio and you can apply to work with me. You can also go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com/apply, and that will tell you how you can, you'll hear more about my frameworks, how I work with people, and our 12-month program, which starts next week, group coaching program, where we're building out these 5- and 6-figure corporate offers and so much more, actually. So, all right.
Hey guys, I want to come in really quickly and tell you all about the Speak Your Way to Cash course. This course is for speakers who are looking to consistently book paid speaking engagements. In short, if you are ready to speak your way to cash, this is the course you need. There are over 17 modules. You heard that right, 17, that cover getting clarity in your speaking career, branding through the press, a 7-figure sales panel, selecting your niche and finding engagements, selling your signature speech and building it out, onboarding and offboarding clients, implementation and taking it to the next level. And then let me tell you about the 10 bonus trainings that encompass the 17 trainings that you're going to get. The bonus trainings cover things like branding as a speaker, the best tools for finding engagements, determining whether a topic is viable, speech writing for success, speaking techniques, self-publishing for speakers, sales success, landing association and college clients, navigating the conference market, and so much more. You even get the exact pitch templates that I use to land college clients over and over again, and the press pitch templates that I use. So look, you can get this course by going to ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC course. ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC course. Or just enter Ashley Kirkwood Speak Your Way to Cash course in Google and it should come right up. Thanks guys for listening. Let's get back to this interview.
So the question is, how do I get paid to speak when my industry isn't one that really recognizes paying speakers to speak? It's typically apply to speak. It's typically free engagements. Then I would recommend you look at what are the transferable skills that you can take from your industry to another industry that is used to paying speakers, and then you get paid from there. And then maybe you just go to those, because it's not so much an industry issue as it is there's a certain forum where they just don't pay speakers. That's true. Like there are some conferences where it's like, I don't care how great you are, we just aren't paying speakers to speak because that's not what we do at this particular conference. So if that's the case for the conferences that you've spoken at in the past, then you want to make sure that you are taking your expertise and your knowledge to a market or to a medium that people do pay speakers. You know what I mean? And so for you, you're an entrepreneur. You understand consulting. You understand how to take something that was just bare and make it beautiful. You understand processes. You understand how to be organized. Corporations need that. Colleges need that. Colleges need stuff on entrepreneurship, especially now in the pandemic, because people aren't, your college students' plans for going to college, graduating, getting a job, all of that has been disrupted. Not all of it, but some of it has been disrupted, and they have to think about their career plan very differently. So you have something to offer them. So I'm not big on, one, you'll never hear me say like convince or sell someone on paying speakers. The same way I don't sell clients on working with me who don't invest. There are some people I know very clearly, they just aren't investors. They're people that don't invest in their personal development. That's fine. They can still watch all my stuff, hear all the podcasts, but I'm not going to be in their inbox like, girl, you really need to do this. Your whole career could change. They know their career could change working with me. I'm not selling them on that. And it's the same way I don't sell companies who don't pay speakers on paying a speaker. Now, what I will talk to them about, it may be their first time, but if they are adverse to the whole idea of paying a speaker and I find that out, my job, I'm not selling you on too many things. I want to sell you on me being the right fit, but I'm not going to sell you on the concept of paying me to speak. You have to already conceptually understand that that's how that happens. And so there are industries and markets and conferences. Typically, those are conferences put on by big associations that understand that you have to pay speakers. They have a budget for it. They plan for it. It's just a matter of which speaker they're going to pay. You're not necessarily selling them on paying them themselves. Does that make sense? You know, you put those conferences in a different bucket. Like we put those in business development. And so if I'm going to invest money in it, then it has to go in business development. In terms of me categorizing expenses, it's an expense. It's not going over on our profit side. It's like, all right, this is business development. Is it worth it? How many clients do I project I'll get? And if you're going to sell, so this is another thing that people miss when they talk about selling from the stage. If I go into a room and it is 100 business owners there and I'm not paid to be there, I need to sell 10 of them on buying my package. Well, that's a 10% conversion rate. I know because I do live webinars. I've done live events a lot. If I go into a room of 100 people, I'm going to get 10 to 30 of them to buy something that I offer. And so because of that, I don't mind going because I know that it's going to convert to a certain amount of revenue. Everyone doesn't know their numbers. It's the same way when I would go and speak at colleges and I would have to sell books. I knew if you gave me 3,000 kids in a room, I was going to sell enough books to make it worth it regardless, because I could sell live. And all throughout the presentation, I also knew that like there are certain triggering. So if you're going to speak to sell, and I don't talk about this a lot, but you know, my background is in sales. If you're going to sell a product or you're going to sell a service, the way that you set up that speech has to be different. So when I was going to speak and I was selling my book, I would literally every 5 minutes of that speech, pick up the book and say, and you'll find it right here on page 55 of the book. If you were to look at it, for those of you that have it, just circle the bottom of page 55. Everyone who didn't have it was like, I can't wait to get the book. We would sell out every time. But there were other speeches I would do because my husband and I, you know, my husband is like everything, right? So we would test this out. The first speech of the night, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't pick up the book every 5 minutes. I wouldn't circle things in the book. I wouldn't highlight it and show it to them. And I had my book. You all can't see it, but I would like be picking up the book, highlighting things, showing it to them, reading direct passages from the book. When you engage with whatever you're selling, people are going to be more willing to buy it. So if right now I wanted to sell you all on my course and you were watching live, I'd be going to the course, pulling it up, screen sharing, like showing you, yep, and this is in module 5 of the course. You know what I mean? And so if you're going to go and not get paid to speak and you're going to get on these stages and you're going to sell something on the back end, you have to figure out strategically, how am I going to engage with what I'm selling the entire time so that by the end, they're so excited to buy from you that you're going to make your money back either way. You may even make more money doing that. That's a good point. So I work with speakers in Speaker Ready Cash Academy that are doing all manner of things. And I am not an expert on all of their industries. What I am an expert in is building out, and what I know is how to build out 5 and 6 figure corporate offers and sell them and negotiate those contracts. And so what I am doing, Q1 of Speaker Ready Cash Academy, it actually, I'm like literally looking at the landing page for it right now. It literally says market research data that will help you build out your 6-figure corporate offer. I have a proprietary way that I have done market research to get people who do not know me to give me 15 to 20 minutes of their time to help me develop out the offer that I'm going to have. In short, I'm not going to give you all of that and all the email templates and swipe copy that I'm going to give all of them. Kelly will get that because she's in the academy. I think there may be a few other people in here who are in the academy already. So that's coming down the pipeline for you guys. What I will say is you have to talk to them and you have to talk to their language. That does involve you knowing initially who you may be talking to. But to start, if you have an inkling that it's someone in learning and development, talk to someone in learning and development, and they should at least be able to, or they will be able to, because that department in particularly is the one that trains all the other departments within a company. So they should be able to tell you who else you should be speaking to. And you want to get those job titles down, and then you want to talk to them. There's certain questions we teach people to ask and all of that. I won't get into all of that, but you should be, you have to talk to your client. I think the answer was in the question. You have to really talk to the client. Now, getting them to talk to you, you're going to have to figure that piece out, but you are going to have to talk to the client. We got to think about this logically. Imagine that you're corporate. One of the coaches I work with says this all the time, like you leave corporate, then you become corporate. So if you're corporate, like I own a company, I have employees. I'm not going to pay someone to come in and talk to my employees about, hey, this is how you find your dream job, unless it's like how to find your dream job within the job you got. You know what I mean? So I think for you may want to talk about the science behind satisfaction. Oh, girl, that was good. That's good. Because look, most people don't want to leave. They don't want to do something different. What most people need to recognize is how to control their emotions and find satisfaction where they're at, and then make that their dream. Because I think what a lot of people are looking for in a dream job, it may or may not exist. I felt like my job, not the job I had right before entrepreneurship, but the job before that was an excellent job for me. I realized I think it was probably the best job I was ever going to have. And I still left for more money, not realizing that the additional income didn't help because I didn't like the other job more. But if I could have learned how to be satisfied where I was at and grow and make that company what I needed it to be, because it had 9 out of 10 of the things that I wanted, then I would have been more satisfied. So if you're going to go into companies, you would have to position it as like, I'm going to teach your employees the science behind satisfaction and how they can find satisfaction where they're at. But when you get in there, you can have stories about how you've helped people find their dream jobs all around the world. And so you plant those seeds. And then what typically would happen is some of the employees will be like, okay, I want one-on-one coaching to find my dream job. But it's real slick. You don't want to take their people right out the gate. If you're going to do it like that, you need to position it as something that the company can get behind. And then if you sell the employees and talk about what you do by the way that you do your storytelling and set up your storytelling, then you have an ability to move forward in that way. For everyone on here who's like, okay, I got to figure out how to get started. I don't even know what's going on and I'm not in a position to invest right now. And even those that are, this is good for you to do. So free resources, join the Speaker Ready Cash Facebook group, totally free. When you join, go to videos, watch all that stuff. You may find, like, have a pen and paper. You're going to find, like, look at the title of the video and start from the beginning and go up, because you're going to find some really dope resources on like how to get started when you're literally just getting started. Another free resources, if you go to AshleyNicoleKirkwood.com/5 steps opt-in. If you join the Facebook group, they'll tag you in this, but there's like a free training on like 5 things you need to do to get started as a speaker. And then the Speaker Ready Cash podcast, also free, tons of great research there. I would start off with the episode where Odell Bazell talks about the college speaking market, if that's something that you're interested in, because he also mentions nonprofit organizations that are actually going to be paying speakers and that are still paying speakers virtually now. So those are some free resources. If you're interested in the college market and getting some of those one-off engagements, a low-cost course with like tons of modules is the Speaker Ready Cash course. So you can go to Ashley Nicole. You can just also Google me. I mean, not Google me. Well, you could do that too. If you Google this stuff, it'll come up. Just Google Speaker Ready Cash if you can't remember all these links. But if you go to, or you can message me on Instagram, but if you go to Speaker Ready Cash, AshleyNicoleKirkwood.com, SYWTC course, you'll find the Speaker Ready Cash course. And that course it's like either one payment of $1,000 or 2 payments of $700. It's something like that. But it talks about clarity in your speaking career, branding through the press, selecting your niche and finding engagements. And I actually share a screen and show you how to find engagements side by side, like how you're going to find those paid speaking engagements and then what you need to do to take it to the next level. So that's a really good offering as well. And we talk about building out your signature speech, because for you, you're going to need a signature speech. Like, you need to brand yourself. Because I know on your Instagram, it says motivational speaker, and that's great. That at least tells people that you are speaking and that you want to speak. However, what you need is you need a method to take people from point A to point B. Because when I look at motivational speaker, I'm just like, okay, well, what is that? What is that? Like, when I speak, I do motivate, but that's not why people are paying me typically. They're typically not trying to. And when you brand yourself as a motivational speaker, it's hard to go from that to building out like motivational speaking packages, because people aren't looking to pay motivational speakers $50, $60, $100,000 unless you're famous to motivate their employees. There may be some, what that looks like in corporate will be like a performance expert. People do want to pay performance experts, but motivational speaking, it feels a little soft to companies. So, and unless it's a keynote time, they're not really looking for that. So I would highly recommend the Speaker Ready Cash course as a lower cost investment to get started. And then if you're like, all right, I'm ready to jump in the deep end, I want to work with you in a group coaching session, then you should apply for the Speaker Ready Cash Academy. There's no cost to apply. It's not like colleges where we charge an application fee, but the program itself it's an investment. Right now, if you join before the end of the year, it's $15,000 or, $1,000, $1,500 a month or something like that. So it's an investment, but we work together for 12 months and get you up and going, and you can ask questions, etc. Those are the options that I'd recommend, from like free to higher cost, because it doesn't really make sense to Google this stuff. It makes sense to just go where the information already is. And whether you have to start at the free side or you can invest, that is going to be the recommendation. Like, get help. Go where people are going, where they actually know how to do this stuff, and then go from there. But the other thing for you, I don't know if you're already connected with the National Endometriosis Association, but that may be a really good platform to get connected with, so that you're able to get on a large platform and show your expertise as a speaker. But when you do that, you want to make sure that you know exactly who you are as a speaker. So what is your signature framework? What is it that you talk about in one line? Like, my signature speech is the currency of confidence. We teach the mindset, beliefs, and actions of successful speakers. If we're talking to speakers, of successful students, if I'm talking to colleges, or of successful employees, if I'm talking to corporate, or successful salespeople, if I'm talking to a sales department. But it's a one-liner. It is a 3-part framework that I'm going to come in and teach. It's going to rock your world, and it's organized. So what I find as a big mistake with speakers is they're like, oh, I could talk about this, I could talk about that, I could talk about this. No. What are the 1 or 2 things that you know how to package in such a way that anyone would understand it and anyone would be able to refer you based on that particular framework? One of the things that I would recommend is having like a signature, like having it right up front, what it is that you, what is your signature speech, or what is the signature program that you offer? And I would change the language on your website to be really clear that you work with corporate audiences, and not even just corporate audiences, but like what you offer them that no other speaker can offer them. Because it right up front, it says reaching the hearts of your audience, providing keynotes, courses, and workshops for entrepreneurs and healthcare providers. Well, there are a lot of other people that provide keynotes, courses, and workshops for entrepreneurs and healthcare providers, but none may provide, like, by using the blank framework or by whatever your trademarkable thing is. I would push that, because that's going to be able to easily transfer, whether it's healthcare, whether it's pharmaceutical companies, whether it's, any insurance companies. It won't really matter. It'll carry over, because the framework that you teach can impact any audience. So I don't know if reaching the hearts of your audience is the tagline, but you want to think through, what is the thing that I can promote that is proprietary to me, so that I'm the only option for any organization looking to blank. You know what I mean? Yeah, so that sounds like proposal writing. I mean, it's a lot of different ways that you can structure it. I have some courses on it, but it's not really something I could go through right here. One of the things that you want to consider, though, is in terms of just general things to consider for educational reasons. Are workshops the best way to really change the culture? What other information will you need? Because it may be a combination of executive coaching, workshops, deep dive assessments. There's a lot of different things that you need. And then don't be afraid to don't be afraid to propose something and then hire out an instructional designer or someone to help you to put those assets in place that you're going to provide to the company. So the question was like, how do I structure out a larger engagement when the company needs more than just workshops, or they want me to really change the culture? But that's how I would propose it to them. And I wouldn't even start off with pitching them only workshops, I would pitch them, of course, a bigger package to begin with that includes some of the additional elements. And I think you have to sit down and think through, if you're not working with a coach to help you through this, what are all the ways that I can serve this client? What are some traditional ways that I can serve the client? What are some ways other consultants are serving their clients? What offerings are on their websites? And then from that, what can I provide that I actually can deliver upon? Because that's going to be really important, is like the delivery of it as well. But I would caution you against bidding or pitching them too low, because that can be a problem. And if it is just going to be a series of workshops, then what else? I mean, if it's a series of workshops, are you going to have a book that goes with it, like a workbook that goes with it that you print out and mail to everyone? Like, what's going to be the thing that increases the value without increasing the amount of work that you have to do? But if you do include coaching or consulting, one thing that I'll say, a lot of coaches and consultants, they get paid by the hour, and that doesn't make sense. Each of our consulting sessions, like, you should get paid per session, and it's probably like $1,500 or $2,000 a session. And that may include up to an hour or up to 90 minutes of talking, but it shouldn't be like, for $100 an hour. That doesn't really make sense if you think about it, because your workshops are like hopefully $5,000 to $10,000 each. So if that's $5,000 to $10,000 each, and those are an hour, why would your consulting sessions be any less? And then make sure when you're pitching these companies, you don't want to just like pitch them and say something that's like, all right, well, this is going to be with me. Like, make sure you're like, all right, me and my team. Like, even if you don't have a team yet, it needs to be you and the team, because I'm not doing all the pieces of any of these assignments at this point. Like, I prep my clients, both in my law firm and on my consulting and firm side and speaking side, that I may not be the one doing all the pieces of this engagement. And so you have to price so that you can not do it. And I'll give you an example. I recently did an engagement for a large client. That engagement went really well. It involved a lot of back-end research and all this other stuff. I paid the instructional designer. They got paid I don't know, maybe they charged by the hour. Like, they didn't have me as a coach. They charged by the hours. They charged like 40 or 50 an hour to do all the research, put all the PowerPoints together, everything. So that took them 10 hours to do. I paid that. And then I did the speech. The speech itself took me an hour to do. And I was able to net $7,000. So I gave them $500. I got $7,000. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, there's ways to do this. So don't be afraid of like pitching stuff and then you're like, oh, well, then how do I do all this stuff? You don't have to do all the stuff. You hire someone else to do all the stuff, someone else who doesn't understand value-based pricing. But you price your stuff so that it is high enough so that you can hire. Everything I do is priced so that if I can hire other people to deliver the service or the product. Like, even my coaching, I'm going to do the coaching, but we have people on the back end making sure all the workshops are like, all the worksheets are done well, making sure that everyone gets what they need. We sent out a custom planner to everyone who registered for the event, custom journals, but all of this stuff, like, my clients are like, you have really good customer service. Yeah, because I charge. So we can pay customer service liaisons to make sure on your birthday you get flowers. And so you got to price so that you can actually do the things, so that you can serve on the highest level, and so that you can give other people opportunities to work. Because that's going to be the thing. When you start getting into larger packages, I just see people pricing down or saying like, oh, but I've already created it, so it's not that hard. It doesn't matter. I do the same speech all around the world. They still got to pay, because the transformation they get each time is going to be worth that price. I mean, honestly, that's why you get coaching. Like, I had someone that was like, oh, they were scared to hire a lawyer, and they hired us. We ended up renegotiating their contract and got them an extra $150,000. And it's like, yeah, so now you feel good about spending $10,000, don't you? Like, at the end of the day, just hire I know how to do this. You want to do it for real? Hire me. Like, we'll get it done. You know what I mean? Like, it's 2020. I don't have time to learn all this stuff. I want to start getting into government contracting. I do a lot on the private side. So I'm just like, I found a Clubhouse room, and the guy was like, yeah, I do this. I know how to do this. You know what I did? I hired that man. Like, I don't play games with people, because every time we waste time researching things that other people know how to do, when we should just be hiring the person that knows how to do it, you're wasting actual dollars. There was a client, never spoken before. We put together a package, $60,000 proposal. They accepted $20,000 of it. She had paid $10,000 to get into a particular program of mine. She made that money back instantly because she just hired somebody. So don't be afraid. Anyone listening, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to spend money. You know what people do who make money? They spend it. They spend it, they get it back, they learn knowledge, they flip it, they give that knowledge to their team, then their team implements, and then guess what? Everybody makes more money, then they hire more people. So, the difference is, I don't think people should spend money. I do think people should invest money. And if you're getting knowledge out of it, then you're investing money now so that you can have knowledge, and you keep that knowledge and you compound that knowledge over years. So there are people, and I see them all the time. They're like, they come to every little free thing and they try to get like these little bitty nuggets. And they're like, ooh, that's a good nugget, but they don't implement, probably because they need accountability and consistency. Because right now, based on what we said, Carrie, you may go put together a proposal and they may accept $10,000, $15,000 of it. And that's great. But then you're like, dang, how do I deliver on this? Who do I hire to implement the proposal? If you're in the group coaching program, you just ask the group, then we give you an answer, then you move on. Because what people don't account for is their success. You have to account for your success. You're going to get your money back. You're going to learn how to do this stuff and you're going to get some success. But then you have to account for your success. After you do the thing and you get the contract, how do you deliver on it in such a way that you bake in the referral so that every single time that one client converts to 5? And there's a process for doing that. So I would just encourage everyone listening who's like, I really want to do this, hire the person that knows how to do it. That's me. If we're just being frank, like, because I say that not because it's like, oh, I need all y'all money, but it's like, I just see people wasting so much time and it's like, why are you wasting all this time? Like, just hire the person who can do it. Now, if you cannot hire, then I gave out earlier for those of you just joining, like free resources that you can go to and kind of piecemeal your way to the, you're not going to piecemeal your way to the top, but you may piecemeal your way to the point where you can actually invest. But I do recommend that you just work with someone and don't waste time, because I think for me, at least, I had entrepreneurial fatigue until the point that I really started investing money. Like then it started to get fun because it was like, oh man, I can learn this in a day. I could do a VIP day and just learn all this stuff. And then I could just tell this to my team, have it recorded, have them watch that. Like then entrepreneurial, like it all started to get fun when I started to actually invest money and stop trying to like Google it to the top. So that would be my encouragement for all of you guys here. For those of you just joining, we talked today, you may have missed the actual content portion of it, but we talked about like stop applying to speak and do this instead. And honestly, what we said was that if you're going to apply to speak for business development, that's fine. But applying to speak is not a strategy to getting highly lucrative corporate speaking contracts. And when I say corporate, I include nonprofit associations and colleges within that. Then we also talked about where you can actually pay to speak to get before your ideal clients and when that might be an option. But that if you want to get paid to speak off bat, the thing you're going to want to do is go directly to the people who can pay you to speak. So that was kind of the topic of discussion today. I am doing this 4 days in a row. And so I'm really excited about this series. This is the Sunrise Speaker Series. Tomorrow's session is behind the scenes of selling to corporate, what you need to know. And that's going to be where we talk a little bit about how you're going to sell to corporate, some things that you need to keep an eye out for. And then Thursday is the one thing consistently booked speakers do consistently. Spoiler, it's more important than selling. So you're not going to want to miss Wednesday or Thursday. I'll be right here at 6 a.m. So super excited you guys joined. If you haven't already followed other people in the room, follow the people on the stage. Thank you all so much for asking questions. Carrie, Jasmine, JP, and Adrian, I really appreciate you guys' transparency. All of you are doing amazing work. Also, thank you for actually speaking, getting out there, sharing your voice, getting paid to do it. Like that's no easy feat. So congrats, Carrie, to you for getting that engagement. Now it's just a matter of, for those of you who already have engagements, you're so primed to just take it up because you already have the engagement. So you already are bought into the idea that this can happen. You just need to leverage it in a way that it becomes generational wealth versus just like a one-time gig. You know what I mean? You already have the video. You already can get testimonials. Like those are the folks that I love to work with. I love working with thought leaders and experts, people who really know their stuff, just need help packaging it and selling it to corporate audiences. The folks in my academy, those women are outstanding. We do accept guys too. We haven't had our first guy in the academy yet, but we do have men who have taken our programs and done very well. So shout out to them. I have a testimonial from a guy named Kevin. So I'm like, just letting people know I don't only work with women, but I do love working with women. So hey, I'm here, guys. I'm on Instagram. You can send me a message. Give me some time to get back. I've gotten a lot of your messages already. We have the Speak Your Way to Cash Academy, the Speak Your Way to Cash course. If you're remotely interested in working with me, click the link on my bio and apply to the academy. Once you apply, you will get access to a private training where I go through my 4-part paid framework that I and my clients have used to land 5- and 6-figure corporate speaking contracts and licensing deals, which we haven't even gotten into yet. So do that. There's no risk in applying. Like you might as well apply, watch the private training. After you watch it, shoot me a DM on Instagram if you have any questions. But yeah, hope you all have an awesome Tuesday. And I will be back here tomorrow, 6 a.m. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I did a 4-day live training series called the Sunrise Speaker Series. So if you're listening to this on the podcast and you wanted to join live, then make sure you're in the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group so that you can do so. But I will talk to you guys tomorrow.
All right. Wasn't that interview amazing? If you're anything like me, you have pages full of notes. But here's the thing. Before you head out, I want you to go to facebook.com and join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group. That is where I am. That's where a ton of other speakers are, a ton of other people who listen to the show. We all congregate there and chat. And it's 100% free. Now, if you're ready to take your speaking career to the next level, I have 2 ways for you to do that. One, you can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC live replay and pick up the live replay. That training is 7 modules, chock full of information. It's crazy. Go over there, read all about it. Or if you want a more personal experience, you already know that you want to be a speaker. You're ready to fully commit and you want someone to walk you through it and save you tons of time Googling and doing it on your own, then book a VIP day with me. You can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com, scroll down until you see the VIP day section and get more information on that there. All right. Thank you guys again for watching. Please do not forget to leave us a review. That is how we keep this train rolling and get some of the best speakers in the world to get on this show. So please, please, please leave a review. Shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and Facebook in the Speak Your Way to Cash group, Instagram at the Ashley Nicole Show. And I'd be more than happy to chat with you and say hi. All right, y'all have an awesome, awesome day.